I can live with that. What's up everyone, welcome to Ola Testing Shit. I just got a hold of the new AM4. Oh, look at this. Oh. I was in Boston just a couple of days ago and Fractal were kind enough to give me one of their new AM4, a small modeling pedal effects. Small, very small. It's basically the same format as the VP4 that I tried like a year or so ago. However, now this AM4 includes the amp and cabinet modeling that we all love from Fractal Audio. There's so many good videos out there already. I would totally recommend watching Leon Todd's video on the AM4. If you really want more of a deep dive on the AM4, I would definitely recommend checking out some other videos. Today, I'm just gonna focus on the metal tones, and I'm going into it like I would design a live tone for myself with the Haunted, for instance, just as I'm using the Quad Cortex for, you know, where I have a direct signal that can go to front of house, and one signal that goes to an amplifier, power amplifier, and cabinet. Getting both worlds, basically. You know, getting the tube amplifier sound on stage, but still have the option to go direct to front of house. It's more consistent, more, you know, easier for the front of house guy. And one of the first questions I had was to figure out, like, okay, can I split the outputs on this thing? One output going to front of house, one output going to a power amplifier without a cab sim on it. So yes, that is possible. So I have this AM4 connected to my power amplifier through output R, or right, which doesn't have the cabinet impulse response engaged, while the left output goes into my audio interface, and that has a cabinet impulse response on it. So the way that this works is that you have 4 different blocks to work with in this case, and you might think like, hey, that's not a lot, man. All the other modelers had like, you know, thousands of them or something. No, you don't have thousands, but you know, you have a couple more. But the thing is here that you're getting the, you know, the really high quality effects and amp modeling that's from the XFX, and you know, they're probably taking a lot of processing and processor power. So in my case, I just have to play it a little bit smart. Or if you just want to add more, you can add, you know, the VP4, and you have all those, you know, 4 extra blocks with insane effects and more options, and it will only be this big or something like that. I also have my computer and the AM4 edit open. I made a preset specifically for this occasion that we're celebrating today, and it's based on the Angle Severe amp model, which is one of my favorite amp models in the XFX universe, in my opinion. It's just one of my faves. It's based off an Englund Savage, okay? So what you're hearing right now is the direct signal only. So how I have it set it up, I have different scenes, 4 different scenes in one preset that I can switch in between. But worth noticing is that even though you have one amp block, you're not necessarily tied to that specific amp model that I'm using right now. Every block in this thing has 4 different channels that you can switch in between in that specific preset. So you can basically have 4 different amplifiers in one preset and switch between them, which I thought was really cool. I mean, you've been able to do this before, but I think now when the blocks are this few and you're, you know, working with less, it makes more sense to have it like this. Also new for this is that they brought in the cabinet block into the amp block. The cabinet block would otherwise be its own block on the XFX, for instance, but now, you know, to save space, they brought it into the amp block, so you don't have to, you know, you don't have to account for adding an extra impulse response or cabinet block on the unit. It's in the amp block already, so that's very cool. So what I've done here, let me check the amp settings right here. Pretty straightforward. What I have for extras, you have to click Expert Edit for this. But basically, I use the built-in graphic equalizer in the amp block as an input. And as you can see here, it tames the low end a little bit and make the sound a little bit tighter. And going to scene 2 basically engages the overdrive that's in the first block of this preset. Scene 3, I basically set up like a lead tone. So I have a chorus in front of the amplifier just to give a little bit of width and a little bit of variation to the the amplifier tone, and then an added delay. And then the fourth, we basically have a clean tone going. Clean, right there. So that's cool, and I think this sounds very, very good. But how does it sound through my amplifying cabinet? That's what we're going to find out right now. So right now we're going to listen to the AM4 going into my KSR power amplifier and into my oversized Mesa cabinet. I have a stereo microphone over here, so that's not, it's more like a room microphone more than anything, okay? Dude, that sounds great. Okay, the Preppy Sleigh, which has that added overdrive. I can live with that. Oh, where's my whammy bar? Hell yeah! Dude, I think this unit sounds exactly like it should. It sounds like my other Fractal products, but in this smaller format that's just very backpacker friendly, I would say, or like gig bag friendly. At this point, I think this is probably one of the best small units in terms of like what you get in terms of sound, like the absolute highest quality amp blocks and amp modeling and effects. And it's so small, man. It's so small. I think in the US, it's only $699 as well, which is a great price. And since I'm such a latency nerd, I did actually calculate the latency of this unit, and it's about like 3 milliseconds or something like that with all the blocks engaged. And I actually counted the output where the cabinet impulse response is bypassed, and that is slightly faster. So like maybe 2.8 milliseconds or something like that. These numbers are obviously like my calculations. They're not made in a professional tests. It's more like I'm checking. It's on par with the Quad Cortex, maybe even a little bit faster on the output without the cabinet impulse response. So I guess a lot of you guys are waiting for like, okay, is Ola gonna switch to this now for playing live? I would have to do more of a deep dive into this thing. You know, I'm getting a little bit limited by the amounts of blocks that I can use on this thing. But at the same time, my specific patches for playing live are not necessarily very complicated. On the Quad Cortex, for instance, I'm using a lot of stuff because I can. Here I would have to kind of dumb it down a little bit. I could definitely see myself using only like an amp block and a delay, and that would be it, basically. There is a noise gate in the input, so you don't have to think about that type of block, and it's pretty smart, man. Something I have been asking for a long time is just like if they could ever make like a touch type of interface or something that's a little bit more easy to, you know, to edit on the unit itself. It is still a little bit complicated, but you know, it's also me being a little bit lazy, I guess. But if you have a computer just like this one right here, it's just so much simpler to set up a patch. I'm just a little concerned if anything needs to be changed when you're out playing live and you have to go down on the floor and kind of fix this. Other than that, I'm very, very happy with this. And, you know, the size is really what matters to me, man. It's small, convenient. I don't need more than these 4 buttons, to be honest, for my live show. Another difference, too, is that I can't go out and use the stereo effects when I'm splitting up my setup like this, where I have one signal going to the power amplifier and cabinet and one signal going to front of house. It's not stereo then. Then, you know, both signals are mono. It would be nice to have, you know, the direct signal being able to utilize stereo at least to get stereo effects in the front of house. Live like this, I'm always going mono. I mean, nothing weird or nothing complicated like that, but it would be nice to have that extra, you know, a stereo out or something like that in XLR. So hell yeah, I'll make this preset available to download for free on my website. The impulse response I'm using on the specific preset, that one is for sale. You don't have to buy that to use the preset. You just use the built-in cabinets on the AM4 and that'll be fine. But if you want the exact tone, you know, you can buy that impulse response from my website. So there you go. I wanted to make this quick video and release it fast because I'm gonna be very, very busy these coming weeks. So I just wanted to, I was just so curious to get this thing going immediately. And dude, love shit like this. There you go. That's my video. Goodbye.